Hey, this is the Hedgeman for the Techies bringing you part 2 of the Game Maker Shooter tutorial. Remember last time we left off with finishing up our movements left and right, and I said we would cover gravity, floors, and backgrounds in part 2. Now that's what we're going to do, but to make sure we have everything set up first, go ahead and go to wall. And make sure you have solid checked, because this is an important part of the next bit. Now, in order to create gravity, there's a whole bunch of steps. So the first thing you need to do is open up your player icon. Now I've already finished this setup because it's kind of complicated, so just follow along. First thing you're going to need to do is add event, step, and step. And within that, you need to add if position is collision free. Now you can find that in the control panel under questions. Drag in check empty, and when you've done that, set Y to 1 and click the relative box. When you've done this, click OK. Next, under move, drag in set gravity, and set gravity for direction 270 and gravity of 0.75. Click OK when you've finished. Next, you need an else function. Else can be found under control in the other section. Drag in the else. As you can see, there isn't anything to set. So, once you've done that, go back to the move panel and drag in set gravity. Here you need to type 270, gravity 0. Click OK. Next, we need a variable. This variable controls the speed at which you jump and prevents you from going too fast. So, under control, go down to variables and test variable. Drag that in, and when the menu pops up, in variable, type vSpeed. In value, type 12, and for operation, select larger than. Click OK when you've finished. Finally, go back to move, drag in speed vertical. This sets the vertical speed. Your vertical speed here should be set to 12. Click OK. This should establish gravity for your character. Next, you need the add event keyboard up. Once you've created it, the first thing you'll need is to check if there is a collision or not. This prevents your character from jumping through things, stops him from bouncing off stuff. All sorts of crazy stuff can happen if you don't have this. So under control and then questions, drag in check collision. For this, set Y to 1 and tick the relative box. Click OK when you've finished. After this, under the move tab, drag in set vertical speed and select -10. Click OK. Finally, create the event add event collision floor. Under floor, you need the move to contact function, which can be found under move. For this, type direction in the direction space, 12 in the maximum, and select solid objects. Click OK when you've finished. Next, you need to set the vertical speed to 0. Vertical speed is under move, next to set gravity. When you finish this, click OK. Now you need to go to your room. Your room, as you should have left it, should have been 2 walls and your character. Now that you have a movement function, you need to add the floor. Open up your room. These walls are kind of sloppy, so I'm going to go ahead and move them. First thing you need to do, though, is make sure you have floor. The floor goes directly under your character, but does not overlap them. An overlapping floor could prevent your character from moving. And should, in fact, if you have the settings correct. I'm going to go ahead and add my walls back. Once you got everything set up, click the green check mark and then run your game. Should pop up with your floor and your walls. Now try moving. You'll notice that your character has slowed down significantly. This is because gravity is forcing him to the ground. If you want to increase your character's speed, then you need to set his speed higher. In order to do that, go back to the press right arrow button, command event I should say, and the left press event. Change the speeds, set them higher if you want. That would speed up your character. For now I'm going to leave them there so we can look at this. Try jumping. Your character should leave the ground momentarily and return. If you hold the up arrow key, they should still do that, but continue to jump. Next, try moving and jumping. You'll notice your character jumps and returns to the ground. But your character does not change direction. That is the next step. Go ahead and close your game when due. I want my character to change direction when I push the arrow keys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need another sprite. Now you may have noticed that I already have a whole ton of sprites here. Well, in order for that to work, I need a running right sprite. My character, which looks like this, also has a running right sprite already loaded. But in order for you to create another sprite, I suggest duplicating the one you have, clicking edit sprite, and then mirror flip. Check mirror horizontally and click OK. This should mirror your sprite. Once you have that, go ahead and click OK. Next we'll have to click player. In order for this to work, we need to set it so that our character changes sprites when you push the left arrow key. So go ahead and click add event, keyboard, left. Now we don't really want it to change right away, so the first thing we need to do is go to main 2 and drag in sleep. This is purely a preference of mine that I don't want it to change immediately. You don't have to add this step. I suggest doing it. So under sleep, type in 50 in the millisecond selection and type OK. Once you have that, go back to move. Once you have that, go to main 1. Here you'll see a bunch of things that we haven't covered yet. But the first thing we need to do is select change sprite and drag that in. Select your new sprite and click OK. Your character, now in game, will change direction when you hit the left arrow key. Next, select add event. Keyboard, right. I'm going to go ahead and add the sleep 50 milliseconds command again and select OK. Go back to main, drag in the sprite change function, and select your original sprite. Without doing this, your character would always be facing the opposite direction. Select OK and try running your game. Try moving the left and right arrow key. You'll notice that your sprite changes direction. Go ahead and close the window. Next, we're going to work on adding backgrounds. Now backgrounds come with the game, So if you click create a background and load background, it should open up a bunch of options. Now I already have some that I made in Paint, so I'm going to use those. But if at this point you want to create a background or just load a background, go ahead and do that. Here are my backgrounds. So let's look at background 10. Here we have some trees against a road. Also not a good picture, but it'll work out for what I'm doing. So if you go to your room and go to the background tab at the top and select your background that you've created or loaded, you should add it to the picture. Now the walls that we've created are a little out of place now, so go ahead and click object and get those out of the way. Go move the floor and your character, because you're probably going to want to move those as well. Now I'm going to add the floor here. Then I'm going to add some walls up the side of this. Now you're probably thinking, this doesn't look good at all. There's stone blocks all over the place. Well, I agree with you. That's why the next step I'm going to show you, after you check the box over here, make sure your room is saved, is that if you go to your wall, there's this box over here that says visible. If you click this, it disappears. So go ahead and click OK and do the same for your floor. Next, try running your game to see what that looks like. Here we have my character and his little dance. Jump around, see what's going on, change direction. If you run up, there's the wall, you can't go through it. Go ahead and close the game back. Okay, I'm running close to the 15-minute YouTube time limit here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut part 2 here. We're going to have part 2.5, which will be bullet creation and cleaning up some problems that come along with that. I've already done the recording for it, so it'll be posted at the same time. So go ahead and click on to the next video. Should be right there on the side. And thanks for your time.